And welcome to New Wave Global. You have just tuned in to Unraveled with Marvi Sirmed. So, a couple of days ago, the other day, I was just thinking, uh, away from the pressures of the 24/7 news cycle, let's do an episode every now and then, every once in a while, taking a temporary but much needed refuge in the intellectual exploration of some important issues. There are many. So today is that day. And this one is that episode. And this conversation begins in a personal space. A couple of weeks ago, I stumbled upon a new book. Actually, one of my colleagues, Asad, thank you, introduced me to this book. And the name of the book is The Identity Reconstruction of Subaltern English Learners. And it instantly drew me in. It fascinated me for several reasons, umpteenth reasons. For example, first one, as someone who grew up middle class in Pakistan, I could relate deeply to the tensions the book explores, the invisible but rigid class lines that form around English in South Asia and how they shape opportunity, dignity, and even basic self-worth. I'm witness to it. I've lived it. Secondly, the this book captures something we often sense but rarely articulate. That English in our part of the world is not simply a language, it is a gatekeeper, a class marker, and often the first test of whether society will take you seriously or not. And third, but not last, it presents a truly seminal thesis that when subaltern learners acquire English, they are not just gaining a skill, they are reconstructing their identities, expanding their psychological horizons, and claiming leadership spaces from which they were historically excluded. What struck me most is how the authors combine rich narratives with sharp theory. They show us how English intersects with autonomy, competence, and belonging. How it transforms self esteem and how it can become a tool of liberation rather than assimilation. Their, multi-country research from India and Pakistan to Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Afghanistan. It gives this book both breadth and depth, the horizontal expanse of it and then vertical. It is rare to find a book that is academically that rigorous, politically relevant, and profoundly humane all at once. Oh, this book is one of them. And with that, long story short, I am delighted to welcome one of its authors. He has worked across elite and public education systems in South Asia and brings decades of experience engaging with linguistic inequality, class divides, and educational access. And his work is grounded in community engagement, on the ground field work, and a commitment to linguistic and social justice. Mr. Aamir Hasan, welcome to Unraveled. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for that very moving introduction. I don't think I have anything left to say after your introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. So, well, thank you for writing this book. So, can you please briefly explain to our viewers who have not read the book? I have not read the book completely. I have just skimmed through it first couple of chapters. So, please, can you give a gist of it? What does this book explore?
Sure. I think before I do that, I would like to give a little bit of my background and what brought me to this is,
Mm-hmm.
I started my teaching career at the very elite Karachi Grammar School,
Mm-hmm.
and where the kids, of course, English is their first language. Uh, And from there, I went to work in a government school.
Mm-hmm.
And what hit me was, of course, the vast difference in these two schools and the resources and the teachers who were teaching there, and the intellect of the children.
Hmm.
But also the fact that, in one of these schools, very good education was being delivered in English, while in the government school, very bad education was being delivered, which happened to be in Urdu. So that was one issue which I saw, that, good education versus bad education, not so much even the language issue. But
Hmm.
coming more specifically to the subject at hand in the English piece, when I was at this government school, but
Hmm.
it was a very large school for girls in
Hmm.
Karachi. And I noticed that the girls who were beginning to learn English were
Hmm.
behaving differently. They were
Hmm.
acquiring leadership roles.
Hmm.
And that got me, really thinking on this topic. I was there for a number of years, and I'm very, very happy to say, it means a lot to me to say that many of my students are right now in the US doing their residencies and studying here. Uh, and then when I went from there, I went to Harvard to do my master's, and I kept exploring this topic. I kept looking into this, that what is the impact of English
Hmm.
on leadership.
Hmm.
And as I went deeper and deeper into the topic, I noticed that there is limited research. I mean, there's a lot of research on leadership. There's a lot of research on underprivileged learners. And let me just unpack the word subaltern for a second,
Yeah.
because the title of the book, this is the book.
Okay.
So and the word subaltern means people who do not have any access to lines of social mobility,
Hmm.
and the poorest of the poor, basically.
Yeah.
So um, then this idea kept just stayed with me, and then after that I was again in Pakistan. I worked as a rector of a college in Karachi, and
Hmm.
again I tried my utmost to focus on the English language of the students, and I kept thinking about this
Hmm.
continuously, and then this led to me taking on a PhD in the US in Michigan. And this was the topic of my, this, the title of this book is actually the title of my uh, doctoral thesis.
Hmm.
So now, could you repeat your question now that I've given you some of the background?
Hmm.
Could you
Yeah.
repeat your question?
Yeah. So I was just asking you, well, I was asking you about the main idea, main thesis of your book, but you have given me this background. That was my second question, but
Oh,
the first
sorry,
question first. First, yeah.
I jumped the gun. So anyway, so I took this topic at hand, starting with the question that does English create leadership? That's where I began. That how what is it, that why are these students behaving differently once they start learning English? And of
Hmm.
course, I personally come from an elite background. I grew up with English. My mother could speak English, and
Hmm.
had very excellent education. So I just took it for granted. I mean, people like, you know you,
Hmm.
if you grow up with English, you take it for
Yeah.
granted. My English language teacher in my school was an Irish nun. So
Hmm.
but
Okay.
when you see what those people who don't have access to English, how they
Hmm.
are living their lives, you know,
Yeah.
then it really hits you that this dichotomy between the haves and the have-nots in South Asia, as you already mentioned,
Hmm.
English is the gatekeeper between
Yeah.
these two things. You might recall a few years ago, there was this beggar who was looking for food in the garbage in Karachi, and someone chanced upon him, and it appeared that this guy could speak English,
Hmm.
this beggar. And suddenly this beggar was on TV. So just because he could speak English,
Yeah.
he made it to TV. just think about that, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
And you
and
remember those two singers from, that uh, s- very Adivasi kind of class? They were like, so they were from Karachi, I think. They were from Karachi, and they were called Justin Biebies.
okay,
So, and they would mimic, I mean, they would just sing songs of Justin Bieber in his accent, in their own voice, but in his accent. And when they would sing, no one would tell, I mean, these are the people who do not know English at all. They were just mimicking the accent. So, the auditory response. They did not understand what the song was about. They didn't understand, they do not speak English. So people were completely, they came to Coke Studio, and they sold some of their CDs, and they were like household name
celebrities.
in Pakistan. And but they were like, so it was English. Everyone was shocked. Oh, these people, these two girls who never saw a school, um, those Khana Badosh women,
Yeah,
who the
yeah.
Gadvi bajane wali, that was their background, that was their community, and they were not educated. Everyone was shocked when they came on TV and saw, sang those songs. Everyone was like completely taken aback, and it was a
But
shock.
they probably memorized the songs.
They memorized the songs, and they memorized the accent. They memorized the way Justin Bieber would deliver those songs, and that was it.
Okay. I mean, I've not seen these, whoever you're talking about, but I can relate. I can understand, you know, and this is, of course, this is another very complicated issue of accent and pronunciation,
Hmm.
which, which often is very confusing to new learners because they're focusing on accent and pronunciation instead of the grammar, you
Yeah.
see? And then it makes it even harder for them to learn because they are focusing on the wrong thing. But
That
again,
Exactly. But Amir Saab, in my case, in my class, my generation, my class, my school's name was Madrasatul Binat, Lahore,
wow,
and government school, all that typical Urdu medium education. But I was previously, before Madrasatul Binat, I joined Madrasatul Binat in grade five. Before that, I was in another government school, which was Municipal Corporation government school, in which we learned English from that age, from grade one. But when I came to Madrasatul Binat, I discovered that the entire class did not know, and we were in grade five, by the way, the entire class did not know English, did not know what ABC alphabets are. Because English was not taught to them till grade
right.
five. So English was only English. They started teaching English in grade six to these kids. So within the government system, there were two kinds of education. One where the kids would learn English from grade one, and the massive, bigger strata where the English would be taught from grade six onwards. So these kids who were starting ABC from grade six, how could they be at equal level with us? And how could we be at equal level with the people who were learning in Queen Mary, or in the other these schools? It's completely unequal. And you were saying about the accent, too much emphasis on accent and everything. In our case, too much emphasis was on grammar and syntax, and sentence formation. And our teachers did not bother about our accent or pronunciations. That is one reason why my pronunciation still is so bad, because I have learned from those teachers. So
No,
it's
your pronunciation, of course, is good because you've been living in the US now, so that always is very helpful. But
yeah.
pronunciation and accent is, another can of worms. And sadly, no one ever tells these children that don't focus on this. And of
Hmm.
course, even there's another issue to this problem is even grammar and syntax. There's so much emphasis on learning grammar through books as opposed to learning English through performance, right?
Yeah.
And then this brings us to what you, I mean, I should mention this, that this problem of starting English in grade six is a real problem. And this was not the case in Pakistan from 1947 until
Mm,
1979. But during the government of Ziaul Haq, and I'm not no one, I'm not saying this person is bad, that person is bad. All of them have together made a real mess of
mm,
education, unfortunately, right? Throughout. So I have no favorites here. Okay, no one has given education the attention it needs. What they have given attention to is to ensure that the elites get good education and the non-elites can, just whatever happens to them happens to them. But this policy of moving the start of English teaching from grade one to
mm,
grade six happened during the education policy of 1979. Otherwise, we had a pretty decent system in which roughly equal number of students made it through the O-level system and through the matriculation system and
mhm,
were, doing well. And also because once they implemented this law and the teaching of English was moved to grade six,
mm,
that pipeline which created English language teachers was broken.
mm,
And that is why you do not find English language teachers in public schools, in government schools, and even in the school I was teaching in Karachi.
mm.
None of the English teachers could speak English. And if you can't speak English, how do you teach English? You're just teaching the kids the library English. They just know how to read and write and copy and memorize. So so yeah. So coming back to the book, of course, when I really got into my PhD,
Mm,
and I had to see that what are the theories saying. You
mm,
see, there's so many different theories around language. What are the
mm,
motivations for learning language? There is the integrative motivation, there is the instrumental, etc., etc. But this theory I came upon is called self-determination theory,
mhm,
and within that theory, the authors of this theory identified the three things that you mentioned:
mm.
autonomy, relatedness, and
Yeah.
competence. And it hit me. It hit me like a sledgehammer. That in Pakistan, if you don't know English, or in India, or in South Asia, anywhere, some
Mm,
exceptions might be there, but for the most part,
mm,
those three things are not possible for you. Without English, autonomy cannot take place. You cannot, feel competent, and
mm.
you cannot have belonging because all the doors are closed to you. The minute you speak English, the doors start opening for you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, the minute people walk into an interview, whether it's for a job or for an admission, the only thing they're looking for is, can this guy speak English? You know?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, of course, there are jobs, IT, engineering, and whatever, but I'm generally speaking, right?
Yeah, you're right. I
I,
mean, that's it. That's it, Park. Sorry, you were saying something.
I just want to add one thing. Don't lose your train of thought. That I used to, when I was working as a rector, one of a gentleman I hired as a dean of a department.
Mm-hmm.
He was an excellent researcher, but he was a Sindhi speaker. His English was weak,
Mm,
and he could not survive because the powers that be were not happy with him. And I was like, don't focus on his English, focus on what he's doing. His job is to do research. You
mm,
know, the English can someone else can take care of the grammar and the syntax and the corrections and the whatever.
mm.
But he was not able to earn respect in the eyes of his colleagues.
Yeah.
Without, and this was one of the things which emerged. It's just shocking because you don't realize it when you're on the other side, when you're part of the elite crowd, that in Pakistan, if you don't know English, you have no respect, you have no
That's true.
dignity.
Yeah, you have no dignity, no respect in social meanings, as well as in the university as well. So I was in Punjab University once again because this book has probably hit a raw nerve or something, but so many
I can feel
memories
the
of
way,
it.
the way you introduced it, I could feel there's something personal going on.
Yeah, it's very personal because, I am from middle class and a Punjabi middle class from Lahore, not Karachi. Karachi's middle class is different. So in Punjab University, I remember there were because in Punjab University there was this is it was very what should I say, cosmopolitan. I mean, there were different classes coming to Punjab University at that time. I passed out from Punjab University in 1995, and at that time there were Baloch students, there were Pashtun students, so many Pashtun students, and from interior Punjab, there were a
Rural,
lot of
urban.
students, rural areas from. So there was a lot. The majority population of the university was in the hostels. We
Mhm.
were very few day scholars. So I remember that people in my class, there were a few very intelligent boys and girls, but they were coming from, those backward areas in Punjab and elsewhere, and they could not speak spoken English, so you just forget about it. Even written English were not very good, but doesn't mean that they did not have intellect. They had uh, very rich lived experiences, and they had something to contribute, and
Mhm.
which was great. But somehow the academic world was undermining them just because they could not speak or write English properly. That has um, and I was not among them because I had, before entering to university, I had taken the examinations of CSS, where my father prepared me for
Yes, sir.
that. And during that preparation, he focused on my English and how.
Drilled it into you.
Yeah, so he also was a bureaucrat, so he knew his focus was that either you are becoming a bureaucrat or an academician and a professor in the university or a politician. These are only three options for me to open to for a career. So long story short, I was not among those students who were undermined because of their English. I was not, because I was actually Andho mein Kana Raja, because I could write English, and my assignments, I could just write assignments with ease, effortlessly. So I was like considered good students. Although I don't think I had much to contribute in terms of lived experiences, because I was a very pampered child from Lahore, middle class, upper middle class, daughter of a bureaucrat. So but that has left a mark on me. Those students were good students. They knew about life. They knew things. They should have contributed richly to the academic life of that campus, but they did not. They were not able to, because of what you are saying. And that's I don't know if that is the case still in the universities, because I've not been in
That is very
university.
much the case because the thing is that, when we live in the US, right, you meet all these Indians and,
Mm.
the wealthiest group in the country. But then who do these people represent? They only represent a very, very, small
We
group
have
of
lost
people.
your voice. We lost your sound. You'll have
Okay.
to say that again, because we completely lost your sound.
Okay. So,
Yeah, now.
basically, can you get me now?
Yeah, yeah.
So, these the it's apart from, the elites and the people you meet here in the US, the Indian and the Pakistanis, the doctors, Bangladeshis. These are the creme de la creme who end up in the US, right? They do not represent the people of South Asia. And the reality is that even today, most people in India, you think everyone in India speaks English, right? It's not true. Most people
No.
don't, because
Yeah.
they don't because they don't have access to good education. Uh,
Hmm.
and so it's pretty much the same across the board, right across South Asia. I discovered during this process of writing this book and meeting people that
Hmm.
this is something to think about. That
Yeah.
in South Asia, you cannot get a decent job without knowing English. So that means 90% of the people can only get subsistence level jobs, jobs
Mm,
which don't pay well, jobs which do not have any pension or any other privileges associated with it. People, so 90% of the people just are living at the subsistence level. It's just a very small group of people right at the top who know English, and that's giving them access. Coming, one thing interesting that I again discovered is that a lot of people have written on this topic of poor people and English language in South Asia.
mm,
But curiously, I'm surprised even that the impact of English learning is has not been explored. The topic I've explored has not been explored before. It surprises me to record the lived experience of the non-elites who
mm.
learned English. You
Yeah,
know, it's
that always.
I'm just surprised. Really, it surprises me that staring in you is something which is staring you in the face, right?
Yeah.
And no
That,
one has. so
yeah,
so I feel very I feel very blessed in that way that I was able to dissect this topic, meet these people I interviewed, these 20 people, they're real heroes of society.
yeah.
The
That's what
odds they
tears me apart. That was my third question, though.
yeah.
You spoke to, non-elite learners across these six countries. Why don't you tell us one story or two stories, or how many, however, the number of stories, please, that have stayed with you? Something that shows how learning English can completely change a person's sense of self and of their place in society.
So, during this journey, first of all, locating these people was so hard
Hmm.
because it's so hard to find people who met the criteria, which was basically that their parents should be preferably not educated at all, but
Hmm.
definitely their parents should be people who cannot speak English. And
Hmm.
most of my participants had parents who had no education,
Hmm.
no education. They could not even write in Hindi or Baluchi or Punjabi. Forget about English. Or
Hmm.
the second was that you had to have gone to a government school or a non-elite private school.
Hmm.
So, this criteria, and third was, of course, that you could speak English fluently. You could
Hmm.
actually have an interview in English. So finding these people was so difficult. And which just showed me the barriers that exist that so people get out of the what does Adiga call it in his book White Tiger? He calls it the chicken coop.
Hmm.
So few people get out of this prison they are in. So not knowing English is like you're in a prison. Just that's the best analogy I can give you. If you don't know English in Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and these countries, you are basically all the time in a prison.
Hmm.
And the only way you can get out of that prison is to learn English. So you asked me for some stories. So I have to say that during this process of meeting these people and interviewing them, there's so many times that I wept, and there's so many times that these people were telling me their stories
Oh.
because of the humiliations they have faced,
Hmm.
the exclusion they have faced.
Hmm.
And the thing is, I'm only on one side, right? I have known English since I was born. So I don't even know what it means not to know English. You know, probably. You know.
Hmm.
So you can compare what it means not to know
Yes.
and then what these are two, it's a complete metamorphosis, right?
Hmm.
Of your life. So one of the people that who is of course in this book was a student in a government school, and you know parents cannot speak English, and she worked very hard to learn English, just had that spark somehow, realized that this is what can change my life, and then was able through uh, the goodwill of some good people, get a scholarship to go to a private college. And then from the private college, she got into medical college in Pakistan. Now, here's the thing. Here's the very interesting thing. She
Hmm.
could not even have gotten into medical college in Pakistan without knowing English.
Absolutely. I have been to pre-medical. I have done pre-medical, and I know, that's also I mean, you would know because you have written the book and you have spoken to these people. But people who are watching us right now, they should know that in Pakistan, from grade 1 to grade 10, we learn science in Urdu. And suddenly, when you are in pre medical, you have to learn science in English. And that is a big challenge for people from Urdu medium schools. And after that challenge, you ask us to get marks at par with the elite school kids to get into medical colleges. That's a very unfair competition, which we actually win. A lot
It,
of
it's
Pakistanis.
the ultimate injustice.
Mm,
So you see, when my book is not about English. My book is about social justice.
yeah,
This book is about social justice. English is a path to social justice. You know, I,
a
I
tool,
that,
a tool to inequality.
yeah, a tool to end inequality, right?
Hmm,
So just think about it that you are in Pakistan and as you said, you are learning English, math and science and chemistry and Urdu, and
hmm,
then suddenly you are the real contradiction and the injustice is that this is allowed.
hmm,
This is allowed. That
hmm,
that elites can send their kids to the best schools,
hmm.
HSN or whatever, or Prachi Grammar School, or all the elite schools, the Beacon houses, and whatever, whatever, whatever.
Yeah,
And then very, very smoothly sail into a public medical college or engineering college. That is very, that is that is not a fair thing at all. And the
yeah,
and the other students, the non-elite students, are coming from the Urdu medium track. And then how do they compete with these students?
yeah,
So the injustice is inbuilt into the system.
yeah.
And again, you're right that you got, I mean, sorry, not, I mean, the non-elites who make it through this system uh,
Hmm,
are the heroes. As I said, these people are the heroes. Anyway, this girl I was talking about finally went to medical school, is doing a residency in the US right now. And she's just this amazing person. And the beauty is that she has all these big plans for Pakistan. That how do I go back? How do I go back? Take all this knowledge I'm gaining to
hmm,
to do to do good things in Pakistan.
hmm. Yeah,
So yep, yep.
yeah.
So
So that makes me think why. I mean, you make very powerful case that, like you just said, that English empowers non-elite learners, and your book is basically not about English, but about injustice and English as a tool to end that injustice or end that
yep.
inequality. But doesn't this also, I mean, something that I don't know if I'm articulating it well or not, because again, you can articulate it better than me in English. But doesn't this also risk strengthening the hold of elites who already dominate the language? So we are sort of reinforcing that, okay, yes, English. So let's learn English. So let's reinforce that, uh, you know, stranglehold, don't you think?
So to comment on what you said, of course, what you're saying is absolutely valid and correct. Uh, at least is valid. Um, So we take the example of to comment on this, I just need to add this piece to it. That take the example of countries like China or
Hmm,
Iran, you know, who have done the groundwork, the hard work, the grunt work of building systems, or even the Arabs of
hmm,
building systems in their mother tongue, right?
hmm,
And they did it from the get-go, from day one, right?
hmm,
Now, as opposed to that, we come to South Asia. It's 75 years since the British left, more than 75 years. We have not even taken the first step. Apart from paying lip service to mother tongue or, um, But yes, it may strengthen the elites more, but then what
Hmm.
what is the solution then?
Yeah.
Because the establishments of these countries are not about to change the system.
Hmm.
It's not happening. It's a pipe dream. It's a
Hmm.
pipe dream on the one hand, if we think that anyone is interested in a what I don't know, an educational revolution, then okay, let's bring the whole house down and let's start fresh. It's not going to happen. The situation has become even more complicated because English has continued to strengthen irrespective of its colonial past.
Yeah.
English, English is like there's no getting away from English. Even the Chinese now, the reason the Chinese have overtaken the US in research is because now the Chinese research is being published in English.
Hmm.
This is the reason. So everyone is trying to learn English. So and and so there's no getting away from it. So then why should we deny people this thing? Why should we not instead of looking at the negative side and saying, oh, this will strengthen the elites more, or oh, this will weaken the mother tongue. Why not say, okay, those issues can take care of themselves, but let's focus on giving these people
I think
nothing in the.
your sir, when you move this way, probably your sound becomes really,
Is this better?
yeah, this is better.
Okay. So, sorry, it's because of I realize now what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of getting into drawing room discussions and arguments, what will happen to Urdu and Punjabi and Hindi,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what's going to happen to we need to, because the way I see it, there is no other way. I mean, I don't see any revolution taking place in South Asia. There's no one, I don't see any long march happening in South Asia, right? I
No
don't
long
see
march
any.
has ever been successful in South Asia. Yeah.
It cannot happen. It won't happen. It may happen when it happens.
Yeah.
It may happen when it happens, but what happens, God only knows what will happen. But as an educator, I feel that at least the one solution to the issue is let's teach people English. Let's improve the systems to teach people English. You
Yeah.
know, so instead of getting into long discussion, and curiously, very curiously, and you must have noticed and this, of course, maybe it applies to you as well,
Mm.
applies to me certainly,
Mm.
that when you learn English well, you really get interested in your mother tongue more.
Mm.
And you must have noticed that all these elites advocating for mother tongue.
Mm.
But of course, they advocate for mother tongue after they have acquired all the privileges of knowing English.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. And actually, I can give you an example of one of my colleagues at Human Rights Commission of Pakistan. He,
Mhm,
God bless his soul, he passed during pandemic.
mhm.
Not a very old guy, young. I mean, I consider myself young, so he was my age. He was a Pashtun,
Okay.
and he was a very, very well educated. He was a lawyer by profession, and educated in Western tradition,
Mhm,
Western institutions. Excellent English, very polished accent,
mhm,
everything. And but it's very strange that he and there are many other people who I'm just giving him as an example. He believed that teaching Urdu would be erasure of the mother tongue, but teaching English, so he would say he would never speak to us in Urdu. He would just never. Wherever we were, in Kachi Abadis, everywhere, if he has to speak to non-Pashtuns, he would always speak English. He would not
right.
speak Urdu. He would say, and I used to like discuss with him. We had a fighting kind of conversation, very aggressive commentary on each other's. And I used to confront him, you speak English with non-Pashtuns, but you don't speak Urdu with non-Pashtuns, thinking that Urdu will erase the provincial culture, so to say, the mother tongue culture, the identity, the primary identity, but English will not do that. And he used to say, no, if I have to learn a second language, I would much rather learn a language of power than Urdu, which, well, it's as good a lingua franca as English is for the non-Urdu speaking people. So what do you think about that?
I mean, his argument is valid
Mm,
because here's the thing, and this is a very sad thing, but also, it's a reality that you could be in Pakistan. And when I was teaching in Karachi Grammar School, for example, and many of these elite schools,
mm,
speaking Urdu or speaking whatever is
mm,
considered like they say, oh, this is the language of the servants, right? So they live their lives. The elites in Pakistan who run the show, basically,
mm.
the people who run the show in Pakistan live their entire lives in English.
Yeah.
And and if they did not know any other language than English, they would be okay.
Mm, mm,
And if you are a non-elite person, and let's say you are a Baloch or Sindhi or Pashtun or whatever, and
mm,
you only knew English, you would still survive very decently in Pakistan.
mm, mm,
If you only knew English, you can survive in Pakistan quite decently. So that argument is valid, but
mm,
I mean, I would not take it so hard the way he would, because I
mm,
think he was. The thing is, of course, I understand where many people would be coming from because Urdu in our history also has a hegemonic role. You see, it has had a it has a a certain history, right? And
mm.
also associated with the events of East Pakistan and this and that. So
Yeah.
people take it. It's sometimes it's being shoved down people's throats, right?
Yeah.
So वो भी एक issue है. I
Yeah.
personally don't take it so hard because Urdu, after all, I think every society needs a lingua franca. But here
Mm,
is the thing. The problem, and I've written about this, and it's I think I've also mentioned it in the book, in my thesis at least. Urdu is not the problem.
mm.
The problem is you are teaching Urdu to the exclusion of mother tongue.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
आप, you are teaching Urdu to the exclusion of Balochi. You are
Mm,
teaching Urdu to the exclusion of Punjabi.
mm.
There is no need for this. There is no need for this. It should be a tri-language setup. English, Urdu, and mother tongue.
Yeah.
But the issue is again, this needs hard work.
Mm,
This needs intention.
mm,
This needs people to, be serious about education. Unfortunately, in our country, the only education which is taken seriously is the education of the elites. You
mm,
know, even the single national curriculum which was formed, you know,
mm.
it was all the elite schools were exempted from the single national curriculum.
Yeah.
So you see, it's again, as I said, I have no favorites. There, to me, right across the last 75 years, whoever has been ruling the show, running the education system,
Mm,
they have, they are not ready to pay attention to the most important sector of any society, which is education.
yeah, that's right.
China, Japan, Korea, all these great countries, Taiwan, even Iran, you
Mm,
know, and other countries, they have become what they are because the Arabs for sure
mm.
focus on education,
Yeah.
and especially female education. Oh, this brings us to a very interesting point in the
Mm,
discussion, and you can say more about it. The
mm,
emancipatory role of English for women in South
mm.
Asia.
That's very
Because,
interesting, actually. Yeah.
right,
Mm,
if you don't know English, you can never be an emancipated woman in South Asia,
mm.
you know?
Yeah, and if you don't know English, you can't know the jargon of feminism. You can't be a good feminist.
You can't be, some people, yeah, I mean, it's very,
Hmm. Yeah, I know some of my comrades would be very angry on this statement, but
unless unless we can teach women to speak. And I have,
yeah.
this is a topic, by the way, this is a topic in the book. I don't know if you came across it. I've spoken
Yeah, I
about this.
saw this in the table of contents, and I have bookmarked. I have very diligently. I got the PDF copy and I took the printout because I'm that old school. If you
Mhm,
can't touch it,
mhm.
you can't enjoy it. So
Sure, sure.
so I just diligently highlighted so many pages of it. But one thing that, another thing, not one thing, I mean, there's 1,000 things, but one of them was, it was very bold to say that English may now be a basic human right in Saudi. I mean, you were saying that education is basic, but your book also says English is a basic human right in South Asia, which is quite a bold thing to say. And, uh, you know, uh, uh, would you like to tell us how do you frame it as as a basic human
But
right?
we have raised a rhetorical question.
Hmm.
It's a question we have raised. Has English become a human right? And the data shows, and there's a ton of data presented, right? Ton of arguments, ton of data, ton of history, everything is presented in the book, which allude or kind of, which lean in that direction
Hmm.
that can you be a fully functioning human being? Can you achieve all your potential in this world without knowing English when 90% of the world's data is in English on the internet?
Hmm.
When 90% of high quality academic
Hmm.
papers, research is being done in English, you
Hmm.
know? Can
Yeah.
you really, yeah, I don't think it is possible,
Hmm.
exceptions notwithstanding. We are talking on the broad scale. There are always going to be exceptions,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
But
But
so,
yeah, no, it's fascinating actually. I'm reading every day. I'm reading few pages.
oh, really?
Uh,
I'm
yeah,
very honored. I feel very honored that you are enjoying the book and
I
being
am.
able to,
And
yeah,
we are going to, underneath this video, we are going to put the link to the book if that's available for people to buy and read.
yes.
Um,
It
so
won't be available till next year, by the way, which is just around the corner.
okay, okay. So yeah, so we will definitely we will I mean, we would like to engage you in when you are promoting the book or something, discussions, many discussions happen when the book is launched, the book is published and it is out.
Mhm.
So we would be
One thing I should mention that the book is being published by Routledge, which is
yes,
one of the most prestigious uh,
absolutely.
uh, publishers in the world. I feel very honored
Yes,
that
that's another thing. And it's not just, I mean, it's very prestigious and the books are very expensive also. So,
its books are very expensive, but it's a great honor for me personally, and uh,
yeah, no, it's very,
for
and such an interesting. But lastly, the finally, because we have, I think, passed well over our 50 minutes. Um, After spending years studying this divide, what is one change, just one, that you believe could genuinely make English access more equal and less tied to class?
well, to answer your question, the problem of education, English, and plus, well, English is part of it,
Hmm.
can only be solved by the state because the state runs all the public schools. These private, organizations or private schooling or NGOs or whatever they are doing, this is just a drop in the ocean. It cannot solve the problem. Problem, if it's going to be solved, the problem of education and or the problem of English education or education in English and all the different facets around it can only be solved by the state, and the state has to take it seriously. I know that I'm not giving you the a more specific answer, but I had written once in an article which was published in the news, by the way, and I'll share it with you, News Pakistan, that if two policies could be implemented, it would have a dramatic impact of education, at least in Pakistan. One, that it should be made compulsory for all children graduating from elite schools who can speak English to do 2 years of public service as teachers.
Hmm.
Number one.
Hmm.
Number two is that if the public servants put their children or were
Hmm.
made to put their children in government schools,
Hmm.
the situation would solve overnight because suddenly all the resources in the world would be made available. The teachers would suddenly appear out of nowhere, and there could be a transformation. The question is does
Yeah.
the political will exist
Hmm.
to create social justice
Yeah.
in the region? That's the question.
That's the question. And there is a vested interest in keeping this inequality intact. Um, our elites who make decision for us, it's their vested interest in this inequality. Anyway, we have to leave it there. Amir Saab, thank you very much for this deeply thoughtful conversation. Your book does something rare. It forces us to confront truths that we live with but seldom name. In South Asia, language is never just language. It determines how we are seen, how far we can go, and sometimes even how we see ourselves. We, ourselves. Anyway,
Absolutely.
I can
I'm really honored to have been part of this discussion, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. And we hope to invite you in more of the discussions on, whenever we hold these discussions in once in a while on issues rather than 24/7 news cycle. But thank you very much. And to our viewers, I hope tonight's conversation encourages you to reflect on your own journey with language, whether it came to you as a privilege or as a struggle like me, and to think about what it means for millions who still stand outside the doors that English opens. Thank you. Have a good one and see you next time.